Hi guys, thanks for joining me today. On today's video, I'm going to make 3 pairs of earrings that are just cute and fun and easy to make. I'm going to make 1 pair as a smiley face, and so I did a search for free clip art smiley face. I like this good old-fashioned smiley face here, so I'll drag it over to my desktop. Then another pair I want to make is a pair of earrings with a peace symbol on them. So I'll just go ahead and drag this peace symbol to my desktop. And then the last thing that I want to make is a bingo ball. And so I'm going to design my own, but I did want to see the various types of bingo balls out there. And I noticed sometimes they just have the numbers, sometimes they have the number and the letter, like this one and these up here. And I think I'm going to go ahead and put the letter and the number on mine. I'll get rid of that. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to click upload, upload image, browse. Now I dragged my images onto a little file called desktop videos. We'll start with the peace symbol. So I click on it and say open. Now this is a very simple image, so I'm going to bring it into Design Space using the simple selection over here. Then continue. Now at this point, let's preview this. As a cut file, that's what it would look like. Those are not individual layers. So what we need to do is get rid of the white spaces. Make sure this select and erase is dark. That means it's selected, and then just click on what you want to go away. So I click on all those areas, and then I can preview it. That looks good. I did use a peace symbol one time that when I went through this step, there were little splotchy things all over the place, and rather than use the eraser and do all the work of erasing them, it was a whole lot faster just to go back to the internet and find another peace symbol. So we'll click continue. Now it's very important that you click over here on the right hand side. You see this green outline? That shows you which side you're on, either a print then cut image over here, but I want to just have a cut file, so I'm going to click back over on the right hand side, and then I'll save this as earrings piece. Now I want to go back and find my smiley face, so I clicked on upload, browse, and then I'll select the smiley face, click open. Again, this is a very, very simple high contrast image, so I'll use the simple selection, continue, and again, if you preview this, you're going to have one big square. So let's hide that preview. I have the select and erase selected. It's defaulted on my machine, so I'm going to get rid of all the white. Now that looks good, but let me show you. You still just have a big round circle. So let's hide the preview, and then let's get rid of the yellow. Okay, we'll go ahead and click continue, and again, select over here to save it as a cut file. And I'm just going to call it earring smiley. Since I'm designing the bingo ball myself, I don't have anything else to do as far as uploading images. So I'm going to select my smiley face and my peace symbol, and then click insert images. And there they are. So let's start with the smiley face. I'll just move the peace symbol out of the way. Make my screen larger. All right, so I'm going to use some heat transfer vinyl for this peace symbol, but it's not going to be black. It's going to be something cute. I don't know exactly which color yet, but I'm just going to turn it to purple for now. And then I'm going to put it onto white leather. So I'll go to Shapes and click on Circle, and then turn my circle white. Then I want to change the size of the circle to 1.25. Okay, so now there's my basic earring. If you want the Cricut to cut the hole out of it, which I don't, but let me show you, you just do circle again. I like 0.08 inches. And so you would just place that circle where you want it on your earring. Now let's move the peace symbol out of the way. Now, if I like where it's placed, I drag around both images and you can tell that both layers are selected, and you can slice. And then if you drag your earring out of the way, you can see a line behind it, so you know that sliced out of it. Since I'm going to punch my own holes, I'll just click back until I get back to my white leather circle. And there we go. Go ahead and delete that guy. Okay, so I know the white leather is the right size. Let's click Arrange and send the leather to the back so that I can size my peace sign. And I'm just going to do it manually by grabbing this and expanding it. And I think that looks good right there. I don't necessarily need to center it because these are two different layers, and I will hand apply the HTV to the white, but just so that I can see what it'll look like, I click on Center vertically and horizontally. One thing to think about is I'm going to have a little hole up here. So either you need to make the purple symbol smaller, or you're going to be cutting through both layers. In my case, I think I'd rather just have the, In my case, I think I'd rather have the purple peace symbol a little smaller, just so it leaves enough room for my hole. You could always have it off-centered down here if you decide you want to do that, to give yourself a little more room up there for the hole. If I don't have enough room here to hand cut one, then I'll slightly shift it down. I think that looks fine too. Now the last thing I need to duplicate so that I have two earrings. Okay, let's go find my smiley face. I'll move all these up so we can at least see them. Okay, I want to show you something on this smiley face. I really don't like this outside circle. And in my case, I am going to put just the eyes and the mouth on yellow leather anyway. So I could just get rid of this outside circle. That's what I'll do first. And then I'll show you, if you want to add a circle behind it, how you would do that. Maybe you want to use yellow heat transfer vinyl and put that on some leather. What you can do to get rid of this circle around it right now, that's all one layer. So you can't just get rid of the circle unless you go to Contour. And now I can hide both layers or both lines of that circle, and then click the X and it's gone. So let's say I want to add one back, which I do because I'm going to cut a circle out of yellow leather. So I click on Circle, I'll turn it yellow. Again, I want my circle to be 1.25 inches. Then I will just hand size my smiley face. I need to bring it to the front, so I'll click on Arrange and Send to Front. Okay, I think that's too big, so I'll just make it a little smaller and center everything so I can see what it would look like. This will center vertically and horizontally at the same time. And I'm going to make the face just a tiny bit smaller yet. I think this one will look fine. And it does. So I'll select both images and duplicate. Okay, let's move those out of the way. Now the last thing that I want to do is make my bingo ball. So I'm going to once again select a circle, and then I'm going to put my bingo ball pieces onto white leather. So I'll turn my circle white, go back to a 1.25 inch size. Now for the red parts inside it, I'm just going to duplicate and turn this circle red. The red will be made out of heat transfer vinyl. And I don't want it the exact same size as the white leather, because if you don't get it placed just exactly, you're going to have some of the heat transfer vinyl hanging off the edge. So I'm going to make it just a tiny bit smaller at 1.23. Now if you put it back on the white circle, you see it's pretty darn close to the same size, just slightly smaller. Now I need to cut a small piece or a smaller circle out of the middle of that, so I'll click duplicate. The next circle is white again. So it's actually going to be the white of my leather showing through. So I need to slice a circle out of this red. Just for visual purposes, I'm going to go ahead and turn it white and then make it a fair amount smaller than the red circle. Let's move it over, see what it looks like. I think a little more of the red needs to show, so I'll make that smaller. Then I can select both and center those. And I still think I need a little bit more of the red showing, so I'm going to click over here and know that I have my white layer. Make it just one step smaller. Okay, so let's go ahead and align all that by centering horizontally and vertically. Now both layers are selected. You can tell over here they're both gray, and with 2 layers you can use this slice function, and that uses the smaller piece as a cookie cutter on the bigger piece. So I'm going to click slice. Now the white was my cookie cutter, so I'm going to drag it off, and then the red is the cookie that was left over when you take your cookie cutter off, so I'll drag it off, and then this is what I have left. And it will go basically just like so. You can tell that it really is clear. When you put it over this white layer, it doesn't look like it because you see white behind it, but you can tell it really is going to show the white leather through it because you see the grid behind it. Let's go ahead and put that back over there so we can keep track of what it looks like. Now the last circle I need to do is I need a really skinny red piece to go inside here. So I'm just going to use this white to act as a cookie cutter on this red. But before I do that, I probably should figure out what size I want my red to be, because right now it's too big. So I want a little bit of the white peeking through. Maybe a tiny bit more. Okay, that looks good. So now I need my white circle to be a little smaller than my red circle so that I can have that red outline that shows. So I'll select both layers, align, and center vertically and horizontally. Now both layers are selected. You see that over here. So I'll click slice, and I'll get rid of the cookie cutter. I'll get rid of the excess cookie, and then I have my red ring that goes right here. Let's go ahead once again and just align everything. Now I can just get rid of these excess pieces over here, and that leaves me just with my text. My ball is going to be B12, so I'll type a nice B. I want it something that's fairly plain. It's going to be a small text, so it needs to be plain and fairly bulky. And the first thing that comes up on mine is this Cricut Sans, and I think that's perfect. So I'll make my B small and put it inside here. Let's make it smaller. Now let me go ahead and type a 12. I'm going to use the same font. Again, I need to make it really small. Now on the bingo balls I saw, the letter was smaller than the numbers. So, whoops. Let me move this up and then just start playing with the size on your bingo ball. I want the B to be quite a bit smaller. Okay, I think I like that. Now, I want to pretty much hide everything else around that text. I just want to work with my numbers and my letters right now. Make them larger. The first thing is I notice I don't like that the 1 and the 2 are so close together. So typically I'm showing you how to get those closer together. In this case, I want to spread them out. So I go to letter spacing and then hit the up arrow to add space between the two. Okay, I think that looks fine. Now I want to center my B over my 12. So I have both selected, align and center horizontally. Now I want to go ahead and just attach this together. So I click on attach and then I can bring back the rest of my earring. And the reason I attach them right now is so that I could move them as a group, and I could select everything and say align and center horizontally and vertically. That way I can see what it'll look like. I'm happy with that. So I'll click duplicate and I have my 2 earrings. Now when I make this, I have to remember to mirror my B12. So let's make this smaller so we see everything again. Click make it. There's the 4 pieces of leather. There's my smiley face and my B12. I'm going to go ahead and click mirror now so I don't forget to mirror my B12s. And then here's my 4 red circles, the 2 larger, 2 smaller, my 2 yellow pieces of leather, and then lastly my 2 piece simples. So let me click continue. I want to go ahead and start with my leather. So I'm going to click on browse. I typically use this genuine leather setting, so I'll select it and done. And I'm going to stay with default pressure. I'll make sure my star wheels are out of the way so they won't run over my leather. And then we'll put in the deep point blade. I'm going to click up here on the white layer because that's the layer I want to cut. Now the last thing I want to do is I want to click edit and just move these down. I don't want them that close to the edge because I want room to tape around. Now I just thought of something. I was going back through my head and I remembered that I didn't really do this red layer quite correctly. So let me cancel this. And I'll go ahead and cancel all of it. Okay, so let's take the 2 red layers. Well, let me hide everything else. Hide that. I'll hide my number letter layer. These are the 2 layers I want right here. So let me move these over. I did not attach those, and so when I sent it to the maker, they were going to cut separately and I'd have to hand place this. And there's no reason for me to have to do that, so I should have clicked attach. So I'm just going to get rid of this earring over here altogether. I go ahead and unhide everything else. And then let's put it all back together. It won't matter that I align everything because they're cut separately, but I just like to do that. And then duplicate. And now we're actually ready to make it. So again, I'll click Make It. I need to mirror my black layer again because my B and my 12, you can barely see them. They're not mirrored since I went back into the project. So I'll click on Mirror. I'll move my white leather down again and click Continue. I need to get back to that leather setting. Okay, now we're ready to cut. I have just your basic contact paper, and this is a clear, transparent, and I'm going to put that under where the blade is going to cut to protect my mat. You can see this is a nice, fairly new strong grip mat, so I want to protect it. Now my cut is 2 inches over and 2 inches down, and so I'm going to put this slightly higher than and slightly to the left of the 2-inch mark. And then I'll use my brayer to adhere this down fairly well. But I'm going to go ahead and add some super hold Scotch tape around it. So I'm ready to go ahead and send this to my maker. Now the last thing I need to do is I need to change out my blade. I want the deep point blade in, so I'll clean it off. And let's see what we get. So far that looks really good. So I'll go ahead and remove those. Sometimes when you remove your leather, the contact paper comes up with it. In this case it didn't. I can see where the cut is, but I won't need to replace that quite yet. Now I have this long strip of yellow leather. Let me see how wide that is. Okay, plenty wide. Now this one is just barely hanging on, but that's not bad. I want to get my good scissors to cut that. It is amazing the difference that a good pair of scissors makes, and it's not like these are super expensive, but I had just never bought a pair of scissors before that cost more than probably $10. And I got these on sale for half price at Joann's around Christmas time. So that is just ever so slightly hanging on. Okay. For my black layer, I have this Caesar Glitter HTV. The glitter on this is very subtle, but I would like for my smiley face and my letter and my number to have just a little bit of bling. Now this goes shiny side down, and so if I'm not going to cut this, I'm going to have to move my design to this corner, and I would prefer to do that so that I don't waste HTV. I need to change my setting for the HTV anyway, so let me just go back to that black layer and edit it to move it over. For this layer, I selected the glitter iron-on setting. I like to hold my material flat down on the table and lift my mat off of it. For my red layer, I'm going to use this Easyweed Stretch Htv. You don't need Stretch Htv for earrings, but it's what I have. Now again, I have material on this side of the mat, and so I will change the placement of my red layer to be over in this corner. And then I'm changing my setting just to everyday iron-on. Then for my last layer, my peace sign or my peace symbol, I'm going to use this. It's called Cherry, and it's like a foil iron-on. It's very pretty. So I didn't change which layer was getting cut, and I made the mistake. I accidentally cut the red layer onto this material. So I need to redo my cut. And I want to find the foil HTV setting. Now that setting is called Foil Iron-On. Wow, that is very glary. Let's turn that over. So I'm going to go ahead and cut out all my HTV designs. Now, HTV is usually just very, very easy to weed, so let's see if we have that experience today. Okay, that one was easy enough. Let me set it aside. I don't want you to have to watch all of that weeding. Now, with this one, I want to take off the outside first so I get a good feel for what I'm weeding and what I'm not weeding. I know that the very center, and this has several cuts in there, the very center is supposed to be white. So I know that comes out. And then that just leaves 3 rings. The big ring on the outside, the little ring on the inside. So I want to take out just this little bit in between where white will poke through. So you can see that you have a void right there and the white leather will show through. Well, these are my smiley faces and then the B12. And on the smiley faces, most everything gets weeded away. And my letters and numbers are really small. Hopefully they weed just as well. Okay, I can see it wants to pull up, so I'm going to have to be a lot more careful with these. Now what I do when that happens is I hold down. First of all, I'm going to cut these apart. All right, so let's get this started again. And when something tries to lift up, which it is doing, so my 2 is right here and it's trying to lift up. I hold it down on the top and then pull my vinyl over it, and then if I can see it peeking from the bottom, staying on the vinyl or on the backing, I hold it down from that side with my weeding tool. So I'm trying to hold down the 1 and the 2 at the same time. Okay, so I made it past that. I think I'll go ahead and just cut that excess off. And my B is even smaller, so let's hope that turns out well. Okay, here's what we have so far. Now I need to get the centers out of the B. And they are teeny tiny. I'm going to try to hold the main part of the B down with my fingernail and just grab those centers out. Okay, there's one. Now I pulled up on it a little bit and I don't know where the center is. I think it's under it. Okay, so I got the center out, but now my B is moved over. So I just need to drag him back where I think he goes. Then I'll look at it from the front, and I think that looks pretty good. I'm going to go with that. I'll weed the rest of these, and then we'll start adding it to our leather. I'm going to use my Easy Press Mini, and I'm going to just put it on the lowest setting for now, see if that works. Now, in looking at the instructions, the glitter can take more heat for longer than the red. So let's start with this first earring. And I'm going to put the red over it where it goes, just to see if the black is in the right place. And I actually think that turned out find where it is. So I'm going to hold my black glitter in place, not let it move. Now I want some Teflon paper on top of this, but I don't know why I put it under it. Let's move it. Okay, so I'm going to do this glitter for somewhere between 10 and 15 seconds. Total time it needs 15 to 20. I'm going to see if I can get it to tack down with just 10 or so, because it's going to get another pressing once I put the red on. This is hot peel. Okay, I can see the glitter HTV wanting to lift up a bit, but again, it's going to get a second pressing, so I'm okay with that. The red layer says to do it, I think it was 10 seconds. Let me look again. Yes, 10 seconds first. Well, darn it. Okay, I'm going to go with that. I'll do it for 10 seconds. Then you remove the carrier sheet, cover it with something, parchment paper or a Teflon sheet, and do it for 5 to 10 more seconds, it says. Super cute. Now I'm going to go back and trim around the edges so that will look better. But there's my first one. Now let's do a smiley face. You're actually supposed to preheat your material, so I'll do that. 2 to 3 seconds. And if I can't get the HTV to stick to the leather, I can clean the leather with just a little bit of alcohol. But let's see first if it'll stick. Doesn't matter if this isn't straight, because when I put my hole in it, that'll make it straight. But you do want it from left to right and top to bottom, basically where you expect it to be. But if it's twisted like that, that's not a big deal, because when you put your hole in it, it'll straighten out. I did that a little over 10 seconds because I'm going to peel it off and then I'm going to repress. Isn't that cute? Now I'm just going to do it for about 10 more seconds. Then my last earring is the foil. And let's see what it says. Okay, this says preheat 2 to 3 seconds, press at 305 for 10 to 15, and then it's a hot peel or a cold peel. So I'll do it for the least amount of time. And then I'll peel it hot, and then I'll press it again for about 5 more seconds. Now this is the earring that I have to worry about having enough space for my hole to be able to punch it in the leather, or to know that I'm going to have to punch through the peace sign. And I don't really want to punch through the peace sign, so I'm going to move my peace symbol down so it's not going to be centered from top to bottom. But I do want it fairly centered from side to side. I saw that lift up just slightly, so I want to make sure I get a nice adherence to the leather. So I'll do 10 more seconds. And there we go. And I don't know if you can tell, let me lift it up. I can see the imprint of either, actually I think it's a little of both. I think I see a slight imprint of the Teflon sheet and then the slightly pebbliness of the leather below it. So let me lift that up. Turn it so you can see that hopefully. I'll go ahead and do the second of each pair of earrings, clean them up, get the hardware in, and then I'll show you a picture at the end. And there we have our 3 cute and just fun pairs of earrings. Thanks so much for joining me today. Until the next video, stay safe. Bye-bye.